Thank you for coming out tonight. I see a lot of my students. I have seen a lot of online students as well. And welcome to the AI Gold Rush. Ever heard of AI? Man, that's all we hear about. We're hearing a lot of interesting things, a lot of social consequences of AI, and we're seeing that every day. Employment, disruption. Disruption is a very interesting word. Henry Ford would have said this: if I'd have asked people what they wanted, they'd have said faster horses. A brand new technology, a brand new infrastructure, brand new everything came from what Henry Ford did. Disruptive technology. Since we're all college students here, these are some great things to research. What is a disruption and how does it have? The internet. Probably the biggest disruptive force that we have all been a part of and that we have lived through and that we have seen. Some of us here actually were in the first stages of the internet build out. Many of us have been born into a beautiful end product of the internet. What a disruption does, it changes the market. It changes everything. Sony Walkman. Tell me who remembers the Sony Walkman. All right, who actually had a Sony Walkman? You were alive in the 80s when you saw that, when you had that. And so Sony owned the portable music market. They owned everything. It was a cassette, and it was amazing. Would you have thought 1984, 83, 82 when it came out that Apple was going to dominate that market in the future? You just said, no way. Sony owns it. Completely different disruption right there. Different users come in. Different types of employment. Does technology disrupt employment? Absolutely. We're seeing all that today. And of course, it continues to change. That's what we look in disruption. So let's just go back into the early days of the internet for those of you who have been born into this century. And again, you've been given such a lovely product that you wear every single day. It didn't start like this. It was tough. Internet was formed by the Department of Defense in 1967-ish. It was made in case we had a nuclear or atomic bomb or war going on. What would we do with all of our information? Because if Washington, D.C. got hit, the nation's done. So that information had to be portaled to different areas, down deep in the Rocky Mountains in Colorado and Idaho, to Texas, to somewhere else. So that's what it became in those 1960s and 70s. And then, well, our technology started catching up. And as the late 80s came, we had user groups using computers. But those who could connect with each other, you would have to be a computer scientist, basically, to be a part of that. Well, usher in the 90s, and we unleashed the internet onto the mass public. So we had a very new technology running on phone lines. Who remembers the modems? The screeching modems coming up. New technology, very old infrastructure. But hey, that's all we had, and we loved it. If it took 20 minutes to log on, and for those of us who were alive then, you better pray that you had the call waiting turned off. Because if a call came in, it bumped you off, and then you had to start all over again. We loved it, though. How did you use the internet? Well, we used it in those early days with a very big PC. Laptops were just not strong enough. They didn't have modems built in. So you had to have either an additional modem, but the PC industry did very well. Apple is really not a company. It is, but it's not taking advantage of it. So IBM, the PCs rule right there. No mobile devices, limited content. The browsers were primitive. But we loved it because that's all we knew. Video, there's no video. We read text after text after text. Got bigger, a lot of generations. Now, I don't know if your parents were alive or grandparents during that time. My father was still alive. And what the hell do I need the internet for? I can go down to the store and buy something. Vitamins.com, that's going to be the big .com company. Dogfood.com, because you can't buy that anywhere else. Yeah, you can. It didn't have mass, what we call ubiquitous adoption. Took a long time, very skeptical. By the way, we didn't even know what cybersecurity meant. And so when Doc put his credit card out on there, the computer scientists could find that in a second. The hackers could find it. So it was very difficult. It was tough sledding, as we call it right here. There was a generational gap. Now, how many were born 1999 or beyond? Raise your hand. Raise it high, don't be shy, don't be shy. 99 or beyond, all right. You weren't born yet. That was the problem. The internet needed a new generation to harvest it, to accept it, to be a part of life. That was the interesting part. Came into a place called 2000, 2001. You had massive investment, but it was in .com companies. Anything .com got a $50 million venture capitalist if you had a good enough .com name. Those companies had no path to profitability. Their balance sheets were debt. There was no income coming in. There was no net income. Until finally somebody, some pretty big investors basically said, there's not a company out here, maybe 2 or 3 that are going to survive this. And boom, from 99 to 2001, the stock market dropped like 10,000 points, and every hit was a .com company. I told you, my father, Lord, God bless him if he were still alive, I told you it wasn't going to work. Well, it needed something different. There's a lot of hype. You weren't there yet, but that's what it needed. It needed a completely different infrastructure. When infrastructure caught up with technology, you now have the beautiful products that we have today, the mobile products that we have, the wonderfulness of it. It became a multi-trillion-dollar industry. Now, for those of us who were alive and well during that time, that would have been an interesting time to look at companies to invest in. Is there a parallel coming up today? Here we are. Internet being the most disruptive force, this disrupts like nothing else, AI. I don't know, I wrote that a few years ago, so this may be the 4th year. Let's just say it's the 2nd year. So 2 more years, we will have doubled all the information in the last 100 years, which we have been doubling almost every year since. So there's tremendous amounts of information out there, my friends. It's very, very disruptive. Timeline, did AI just appear November 2022? I think that was the day that ChatGPT was unleashed on the world. Well, it's been around since the 50s. Liza, the first chatbot. The first chatbot that said, how are you doing today? Okay, you're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to talk back to me. We're in a very primitive age. 1950, what are we coming out of? What major world catastrophe? WW2. And so every country has to rebuild. Dartmouth College, we had the birth of AI, followed by, well, this is going to be great. What do we do with it? Again, now you're thinking back, oh my goodness, 70-something years ago, was there any infrastructure? The internet wasn't even created yet. So it was in a nice laboratory. What do we want to do? Where does the money go? This is life-changing. But there were other goals that countries wanted to do. We wanted to put people in space. And we wanted to put a person on the moon by 1970. That was the 1960s. So it went into a winter. It kind of said, we don't have the money for this. It's got to go somewhere else. But we'll keep small teams on it. All the way through the 1980s, government funding cuts, again, needed something different, but it was around. Did anyone ever see Captain America Winter Soldier? All right, you see where they went down into that time capsule, basically, and all the computer systems there. That gave you a hint that AI has been worked on since post-World War II. I thought that was kind of interesting. We had a winter. Would we have been a lot more ahead of time? This is a good question. Had we not had that? Maybe, but maybe not. There's still something that it's got to run on. Mid-1980s, we're bringing things back. 1990s. Chess player. Garry Kasparov, the Russian great chess player, is defeated by IBM's Deep Blue. Now, all of a sudden, AI is coming back into the forefront. Now the internet is coming. We got to place it on some sort of an infrastructure. But what did we have in those times? Well, we had spam filters, your search recommendations. What AI was always looking for, as we know now, was a large language model. It had to have massive amounts of data, every book, every email, every text, everything written so it could understand human behavior. Well, the deep learning revolution right in here, revolution from the 2000s to the 10s when most of you now were all somewhere alive here. We needed bigger infrastructure, so NVIDIA comes out with their graphical processing units that can now do parallel processing. They can crunch data so much faster. voice activation, self-driving research, lots of great stuff. And here we are in the 2020s, again, unleashing of ChatGPT, which was started in about 10 years earlier, somewhere around 2010 to 2012. Now had to have that model. We're seeing it every day that we have in generative media. How many have chat? How many pay for chat? It's good to pay for. How about Claude? Anybody using Claude right now? Claude is Anthropic. He's kind of got hit by the government this week. Copilot. Copilot, Tarrant County College, we give that to you. And of course, Gemini's out there. Gemini, very strong. Yeah. Are we using it? We're starting to use it much, much more, which is great, my friends, because we are now in the next phase. First phase was generative AI. It's read everything. It can tell you great stuff. Now we're going into agentive AI. Those of us in the next few years want to get that job. Yay, just raise your hands on there. That's why we're here. We're giving you that. You're going to utilize AI, and those of us in the workforce as well, as your agent next to you, helping you find great information. Traditional AI was responding to prompts, reactive, limited memory. Agentive AI is, I have a goal. I can plan it, I can act it, I can learn, and I can repeat it, and I can do this 24/7. So initiates actions, goal-oriented, context-aware. If we're doing anything else, my friends, you really want to, and those are our students right in here, let AI be an agent with you in your learning process and in your work process. It's going to help you out a great bit. We can talk about social consequences all the time, my friends. Let's see if there's a parallel to the internet build out, to AI build out, and how we can capitalize on that. There we are. Early 90s, the internet's out. Yes, it's going to change. You're going to change your job. It's going to change the way you go to school. It's going to change a lot of great stuff. It's going to create new jobs. See, that was the great part of what internet did. It was a creation of jobs. 1990, 1995, it was a lot of hype. The hype was much greater than the infrastructure. It's going to do all this, and you're saying, great, I want to do it. I want to do it today. Well, not there yet, but it can do it all. 96 to 2000, now venture capital is flooding in, and at some point, the VC says, I need my money. I want my money. And the companies are saying, give us more because we really need to do some more research and development. And so who survives out of that? We look at Amazon, eBay, Google, because those were what we called, we had to have a new name for businesses. We call them pure plays. They were actually created on the internet, and no one thought that was possible. You have to have what? You got to have a building. I mean, yeah, building, but you got to have a store. You have to have all these things, then you go in and now we're solely on the internet and that's it. That was a new concept. Those made it out because they did have past profitability. Sometime in here, my friend, 2001, 2007, infrastructure, that's the key here. It catches up. It's stronger. Broadband's out there. NVIDIA's building the chips. What happened in 2007? What monumental events? Yes? There it is. The iPhone comes out. Steve Jobs, his idea. Most people said internet in every home. Then they said internet on every computer, maybe your TV. Jobs said internet in your pocket. There we are. Mass, it's now, that's the moment where it came ubiquitous. Everywhere, all the time, on. I got my first degree in 1990, bachelor's in business. I got my second in 95 MBA. I got my third in 2004, 2007 in project management. I kind of totaled up the business courses I had. I'm thinking I took, you got to take a bunch of other stuff. But I'm thinking 75 courses. Not one business professor said, we're in an interesting time, and these could be organizations and companies you may want to look at to invest in. I think that's interesting. I don't want that to pass by any of my students. Are we seeing the same thing, and have we seen it in the AI build-out, my friends? So if we look at what we've just been through from 2020 to 2025, we have just completed the dial-up phase of the internet. We're there. We're past it now. Startups, some are failing. That's all right. Now we're in the giant data compute out. So the infrastructure is now being built, and is it being built massively? Are we in a good state to see the infrastructure build out? Texas is probably one of the best states to see that, and we'll look at that. So for the next 5 years, we're going to be, again, utilizing some interesting things, but lots and lots of build out probably. Again, this could happen faster because now we have an infrastructure in place. How fast we get to what we call general intelligence to maybe even super intelligence. But somewhere between 2030 and 2035, the infrastructure will catch up and AI will be the ubiquitous. For you, it's ubiquitous already, possibly. But for a worldwide ubiquity where it's everywhere, it's in my pocket, it's telling me what to do, it's my agent all the time. Probably past 2035 is where a new industry emerges, a new industry emerges, a new world emerges, because it goes to AI, general intelligence, then it goes to super intelligence, but we're not there yet. All right, we're back in 2026. For those of us who were alive, I see some great parents here tonight, fantastic. We had an opportunity. This could be the second time to do it. For you right now, as my students, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. The great thing about what internet did, it created a lot. AI is replacing a lot. Would you agree with that? Yeah. Agents are created to do work. So that's why we need to be able to have that agentive workforce with you, knowing that AI. But there's still, we're going to stop talking about social opportunities and the social ramifications of internet and AI and look at the investing part of that. So it is $1 trillion infrastructure build out between now and 2030 and certainly by 2035. And I need to put trillions. We'll probably do $1 trillion this year. There's no probably about it. It's already on the books. It's already capital expenditures. Where is it going? Well, it's embedding in data centers, semiconductors, networking, power. We're 25 and under, raise your hand. That's me too. All right. Oh, yeah. Good. Do you want that $150,000 job? Raise your hand. All right. Let me just call them out for you. Electrician, plumber, HVAC, welder. All those are needed for massive AI build-out. Stargate is in Abilene, Texas, West Texas. That will be OpenAI's hypercenter. We have. They're coming everywhere, but you can have your own business on that too. But there you are, your 4 areas that is easily a 150 and above job. Nice. Because we need all of this to build it out. It's not a cloud here. It is actual infrastructure, massive computes, 24/7 workloads, lots of energy, and of course capital intensity right in here. We've blown that away. Semiconductors, again, right now, NVIDIA has $560 billion worth of purchase orders that if they could fill it this year, they would fill it. There is a supply chain issue in here. That's just NVIDIA. Taiwan Semiconductor, all right, AMD, Advanced Micro Devices. We're at that $1 trillion mark pretty much every year just in semiconductors. AI data center build out, at least $600 billion a year. The President of the United States said one thing: we have got to win the AI race. I want to be on the winning team. I really do. And so we're pulling that out. How many of us have ever heard of the term quantum computing? Good. I would say something you really want to research and understand, because that's going to be the driver of another new world right in here. So it's not a .com company. It's not usually companies that have no path of profitability. We're just going to get out there. It is physical, actual infrastructure build out. So the picks and shovels of the gold rush are the infrastructure companies. Oh, we call that something. There's 7 companies. Has anyone seen what that is or heard it before? AJ, what do we call it? The Mag 7, Magnificent 7. How many of us watched the movie The Magnificent 7 with Yul Brynner? Oh, yeah, absolutely phenomenal. So this was an investment term, sexy term, that investment company said, let's look at the 7 companies. Now, there are more than 7, all right? They just picked these that have at least a stock market capitalization of $1 trillion. Stock market capitalization is when you have your price of your stock today multiplied by the outstanding shares. That gives a market capitalization. So they're all over $1 trillion. NVIDIA's at $4 trillion. There's Meta. What is Meta? What do they own? Facebook. Absolutely. Instagram. They are a wonderful advertising agency. So is Alphabet. Alphabet is what? Google. Now, Alphabet, they changed, it was Goog, so if you still want to buy the stock, it's Goog, G-O-O-G. But they have an idea that they can own a digital company with every letter of the alphabet. Why they call it Alphabet. Microsoft, been around, all right. We've got Tesla, we've got Amazon, and we have Apple. That make it up. So those were 7 companies, again, that you looked at. Let's say we're back 10 years ago. If I could turn back time, Cher's saying. So if I could turn back time, and you could put $10,000, I'm talking to students. I know some of your parents are here, but I'm talking to you. Can you build a $10,000 stock portfolio? And yes, you can. If you had $10,000 across the board in those 7 companies, 10 years later you had $570,000. Now you can ask your parents, why didn't you invest $100,000 in that? Because you had a $5.7 million. Hey, hindsight is always perfect vision, isn't it? Always is. Is it possible, my friends, that there's a speculative 7 out there that you could look for in the next 10 to 15 years that may produce those results? I mean, again, this is wholly academic. I did a presentation to retirees today. I'm selling nothing. I just want to make sure you know that. I am not profiting off this. This is purely academic right in here. Who's going to be the next leaders in this build-out? Can we find, are the Mac 7 still going to be very powerful? I'd say absolutely yes. Absolutely yes. What else is in there? Quantum computing. This is a subject that I think is very interesting to study and maybe even build towards in career, especially those who are in the engineering field. So a quantum, I'll show you exactly how, I'll sound so smart because I know about 5 seconds of it, and then don't ask me any questions else about quantum computing. But instead of using regular bits, it uses qubits at the atomic level. And these qubits can do superpositioning. As Einstein said, spooky science. All of a sudden, they become the same number at the same time, which all it means is they can do massive amounts of calculations very, very fast. We can see some huge drug discovery, encryption, logistics. It's very high reward. And of course, every company could go broke. They're going to solve computers that classical computers with the best NVIDIA chips right now could never solve. You're at let's say we're at the New York Public Library. You have a report to do for one of your professors, government probably, they don't have those reports. And so you needed a line from a book. And this is going to be the finishing of the paper. You can't remember it, but you're in the library. And so you're saying, where is this line and how fast can I find it? So 50 million periodicals and books. It happened to be in the very last line of the last book in that order, in the very last one. We get our MacBook Pro, which I have sitting in my MacBook right there. So a classical computer, we'll look at it this way. Everything is in sequential, alphabetical order. I'm crunching through all the data. Your MacBook with 4 quad processors is running as fast as it can. Somewhere in 2028, it shows you where the line was. It read through 50 million. That was books. I don't know how many lines that is, but we're probably talking in the billions, if not a trillion lines of text. Well, all right, we need something faster than that. We're doing a supercomputer, 20,000 NVIDIA processing, scanning books as fast as they possibly can go, pretty much still using the same pathway there, A to Z. It can do it in a week. That's better, all right? You can chill for a week. A quantum system just does this. It reads everything at once and immediately shows you the line that you have. That's how fast the system can work. Cracking DNA codes, 3 billion codes with 50 mutations. It's an exponential number that we can never think about. If I go into my doctor with a certain problem and they said, wait a second, let's do that. Let's get your DNA. We're going to crack through that. Then we're going to do 50 mutations of what the disease might be. I get the disease and I get the prescription for it. I mean, the whole therapy. With this system, it's very easy. It'll take 10,000 years. With a computer, with a quantum system, it would take a week. At full production, it's not there yet. The problem with it is fault tolerance and get very hot. A lot of things going on. But in a laboratory, it can be done. Can they scale it? Some companies are out there ready to do that. Just gives you an idea of the technology behind. You'll never see these computers on your laptop. You're never going to see them. They're going to be in data centers. They're going to be in massive amounts of healthcare crunching through data. But it's certainly going to drive AI to a superintelligence. That will be the missing link right there. Energy. I hear AI uses a lot of energy. New York, I don't know if they passed the moratorium, but they put like a 5-year moratorium on any data center because you're taking too much of our energy. Greg Abbott said, come on down to Texas, man, we want you. And we do. He's got a system to put in at least 7 to 20 more terawatts. So your house runs on a megawatt. I don't know how many megawatts a month that we burn. And a data center right now, a full-blown data center runs on about 300 megawatts it needs consistent power on. We need to get to the gigawatt. So that's 1,000 megawatts of power. And then we go to a terawatt, which would be the 1,000 gigawatts. So we do need some massive energy. We've already, the lines have now been drawn. All new data centers pretty much need to bring at least 50% of their power in. How are we going to do that? How's that going to happen? Well, it's got to happen somehow. So we're going to probably have to do through the nuclear powering right in there. Clean energy, as long as it doesn't melt down, it's clean energy. And lasts about 100 years. Microsoft, does anyone remember Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, somewhere in Pennsylvania called 3 Mile Island? Yes. It had a problem back in the 80s. Fixed it up, cleaned it. Reused a lot of that energy. Microsoft had a 30-year lease on it, just to run their data centers. They're now in possession of that. So you're going to see lots of different things right in here. That's going to be a data center of the future. Around it are clusters of what we would call SMRs, small module reactors. Now, small module reactors, a ways to go in our technology. But with clustering, we can get the gigawatts. They're pretty much at about 300 to 400 megawatts right now. But you're going to see bigger nuclear power as well. That's going to be a big driving force. Are there companies in there? Well, you have a sheet. We'll go over that, and we'll tell you where those companies are. But that's going to be the power we need. Space, the final frontier. Yeah, harvesting asteroids. What's in those asteroids that are so interesting to Elon Musk? The unique metals that build so much of these heat-tolerant, your phone systems that need all these metals that we just cannot pronounce. If you could do it, I think you'd be a gagillionaire. So we're looking at harvesting space, of course, satellite space, broadband. Interesting things. Musk wants to put data centers in space because that would solve a cooling problem. that would solve it. And he could get better solar energy. It takes a big thinker to get big things going sometimes, my friends. Hardware, again, we're going to see massive amounts of hardware. We're seeing it right now. Probably photonics, light-based, that can go actually lighter and cooler. These companies are difficult to buy into, but you buy into the bigger companies that are pushing it, like a NVIDIA. A different type of training. So you can see all of this build-out happening, my friends. What's going to happen in science and engineering for our medicine with quantum systems backing that up. Who's done one? Who's done a Waymo? Who would do one? That's a complete driverless car. Have you done one yet? They're in Dallas. Come on. You're supposed to have time in your life, young people. What's going on here? You're supposed to be out there. And now there's no reason to take any risk driving after all of the water you've you had on the weekends, all right? You just get in that and let it drive. It's completely driverless. Dallas is one of the biggest mapped cities, at least in the United States. And there's other cities in Asia that are much more mapped out. When this gets mapped out, who owns Waymo? Google. It's a Google company. There's their W right there. There's some exposure to it. Again, 20-year-olds, raise your hand again. See, you did the same thing that my father did. I'm not driving that. I'm not getting in there. Maybe it's the beta generation. Maybe it's the alpha, beta, and gamma that is coming up behind it that will only want a driverless car. Interesting things, my friends, interesting things. How many have seen the giant 18-wheeler semi-cabs going through Fort Worth? Yeah. I got next to one the other day. It's a person in the computer next to him, and it says testing. And he was in downtown Fort Worth. I was going down Belknap to our Trinity River campus, and he was driving through the streets, and I was praying for him. I tell you what, you pray for you'll start praying for something right there, because this is a big machine here. Didn't have the cab behind it, the big trailer, but the cab's big enough to do damage, and maneuvering it all through, trying to get the mapping done. When a quantum system gets that mapping done, there's not even real time. It has it out so fast. Interesting. So these are some other companies right in here. Again, I've got a list for us, right, that we might want to look at. But there are pure plays. There are big companies in this. Right now, none of them are making money. But maybe by that 10-year build-out, that 15-year build-out, this will be ubiquitous. I think it could be. FinTech, how many of us have some sort of a financial app on our phone just to see where we are? Absolutely. We could have asked that question in 1995, and you said, are you insane? Oh, you couldn't have. You didn't have a phone to do it. But even when the iPhone certainly came out, but now, how many of us use PayPal? How many of us do online banking? I would definitely suggest that we get some sort of an investment app going, either Robinhood, either M1, your Charles Schwab account, Acorns. There's great things out there that allow the retail investor to get into things that many of us who did live in those 80s and 90s, unless you had a substantial amount of money to invest, people would just say, come back when you have $100,000, then we'll talk. Now, my friend AJ here, he's been a student of mine. I mean, I see him on his phone in my class one time, and I'm fine with that. He bought 20 shares in NVIDIA during one lecture. That's fantastic. That is fantastic. You just got to think how easy that is and how it can be done. We never thought about that years ago. Lots of financials, minerals, my friends, got to win this race as well. The unique minerals to build out all of this infrastructure. Why it matters in cybersecurity in the future, because when we have systems that are running so fast, they can break any algorithm. Again, a quantum system could do that. Could do it. Didn't say he's doing it now, but it has the potential to do that. So we're going to have a lot more of cybersecurity. So we're looking at CrowdStrike, one of the bigger players right now, trying to get ahead of that curve. This could be some of the speculative stuff. And I say speculative. This is not investment advice. I am not selling anything, and I don't want to. I'm just saying this is strategy to look at the future of things. So, and again, if you haven't got a handout, we'll make sure that some of those do you have any extra handouts there, Samuel? Yeah. And who needs a handout, please raise your hand so we can get it to you. Sounds like you got it. Great. Hey, that's a gift to you right there. All the way down. Now, we could go all spec right in there and make a nice $10,000 portfolio and more, and then look at it every day and say, what's that guy's name again? Because I'm going to get him. It looked great, and everything looked great on October 13th. And October 14th of 2025, those of us following the market, it just imploded. Lots of different things happened on that. Again, are there bubbles? Well, bubbles mean an overvaluation. That's that's one term of it. We saw that in the internet build-out. But we also can go back in history and look, those companies were never making money. These are on a pathway to profitability. As Warren Buffett would say, you can't predict the rain, but you can build the ark. Cannot predict timing of markets. That's not something you want to ever try to do. But you can build the ark and say, I know this is happening. I'm looking at the bigger picture. And I want to find companies that I believe are going to be strong, using the Warren Buffett approach, strong balance sheets, profitable. How could you build a $10,000 portfolio? Right now, if I was asked most students, I say, I don't have that. Let me ask you this. Again, 25 and under. How many of you spent $67 last Wednesday to this Wednesday, and you don't even know where it went? Please raise your hand. $67 can go where? Out like that. So now, get your phones out. 67 times 52. Of stuff you don't even know where it went. Food, hopefully fun stuff. I mean, almost fun. 67 times 52. Please give me a number. 3,484. That's 52 weeks. Times 3. 10,400. There's your $10,000 stock portfolio. Just like that. Of stuff that we're going to spend anyway. That's how we would do it. 3 years, $67. If you can do 50 a week, if you can do 100 a week, well, then you're just collapsing that window much faster. This is how we would start building a stock portfolio. Now, I would use speculation and the greatest investor of all time, Warren Buffett. I would build a base. That's what the pyramid has. So the pyramid would be a base. And again, this is not investment advice. It is strategy advice. If I were looking at what are the profitable ones, Amazon, NVIDIA, Google, Microsoft, again, we could put Apple, whatever you want. But those are like money printing machines. They are so powerful and they generate so much profit. Those would be the base. In the middle would be different growth opportunities. So we're staggering here. Taiwan Semiconductor. Very growth oriented right in here. And then at the top, that would be the most speculation, I would assume, for anyone to have. That's just me right in there. And that would be a company called IonQ. Could be any company you want. But IonQ is the leader right now in quantum computing as a pure play. You do have NVIDIA, you do have Google, you do have Amazon, you do have Microsoft, you do have IBM. They are developing their own systems right now. But IonQ has got it to the farthest point, the most fault tolerant. And most quantum computing has to be cooled at absolute zero, which is what, negative 273 Kelvin? Some horrific number. And IonQ can do it with lasers at room temperature. So that's the scaling part. They're building the moat that a Warren Buffett wants around any company. The moat is, why are we better? Who can beat us? Who can easily come and just take our stuff away? Are you patented? Do you have alignments with your supply chain? You'll see all of those companies at the bottom certainly do. And IonQ is making that play right now. It is very unprofitable by design. So that could be what we would call a moonshot. That could just really take off. You could do nothing as well. How would we build it, my friends? So if I was to tell someone, a young student coming up and go, wow, I like this. What do I do? Well, first, let's get a Robinhood account. Let's get an M1 account. All right, let's get a Charles Schwab account. I do not want to be prejudiced on any account would be great. Hey, let's do something. We're going to spend that $67 a week. Let's spend it on yourself. Let's improve ourselves. I'd say 16 into Amazon because that's what the great fintech allows us to do. Those of us back in the day, we could never put $16 into IBM. We'd be thrown out of somebody's office, an investment office. But you can do micro shares of stock, just in the dollar amount. Isn't that sweet? We have 16 Amazon, 16 Microsoft, 16 Alphabet, which is Google, 16 NVIDIA, and 63 weeks we're building that base out. That's the 40% of the portfolio. Again, any companies you like, just do something. Year 2, now we're going on a different growth pattern. So we're doing $22 split against 3, like Taiwan Semiconductor, like Broadband, Broadcom AI Networking, and Palantir, big AI build-out company. 63 weeks there. Now we've got a 40, 40, and then in the third year, we have 33 weeks remaining. We would put it all into whatever speculative company that you're going to research and you're going to do. 3 years ends, and we're going to start it all over again. You're 20. 20-year-olds, one more time, raise your hand. I got to see how beautiful you are. All right. You're 23. Do it again. Now you're 26. You do not have a $20,000 account right now. That has been growing. You hopefully now have something like a $30,000 account. And then you do it, you get better and better and better at it. Foundation, growth, speculation, it's discipline, my friends. Instead of going all speculative there, we're finding the companies that are all involved in this build-out, and all of those are. Be very interesting. Weekly, we're not timing markets. What about, oh man, the market went down this week. How many like to shop on sale? I mean, I love sale. Whatever your favorite brand is, Nike is someone's favorite brand in here. Raise your hand if you love Nike. Absolutely. Nobody likes Nike in here. All right. You like something. It's now on sale. Would you buy it if it were on sale? As you get more mature, you like Hokas because they're just so comfortable. And Hokas are expensive, man. Those go down to a $100 sale. I'm buying those today. Invest Weekly, we're not timing markets. We're building an arc. Always hit the base, speculative stay small, think those 10 years, think this throughout your career. There's other things you're going to do. This is just something that's interesting to time this market. I would literally feel unethical if I didn't tell this to my students. I have no reason why the degrees I had, no conversation ever went on here. I'm not telling you what to buy. I'm telling you, get in it somehow. We're not day trading. We're trying to get long-term wealth and consistency in timing. It's more than that, though. We're positioning ourselves in the AI build-out. It's happening, and ain't nothing stopping it. Where do you want to be? Right now, we're all users of AI. I love it. But do we want to be more than a user? Do we want to be owners of the new revolution? Throughout history, will tell us the different timelines, who became an owner, who created wealth, and who just used the product. Hi, I'm Randy. I have an Amazon problem. Does anyone else have an Amazon problem? Buying too much on it all the time, loving it? Yeah, I do. I'd like to say, well, the $200 stuff I buy on Amazon, how about $200 of one share of stock once in a while? Maybe once every week, and buying it that way. There's builders, investors, and infrastructure owners. It is an economic infrastructure. It's more than just a tool right now. Every revolution had it. Industrial, those who own steel, those who own railroads became owners of that new world. Internet, those who had the infrastructure of the internet built the creative wealth. The mobile revolution. 1997, Apple computer is $3 a share. Steve Jobs comes back in. And Bill Gates invests a couple $1 billion into it and said, this is going to roll. That was a great opportunity right there. Still, they became that. The AI revolution is going to be that of the AI computing companies, my friends. Another thing I think you ought to just look at. I was supposed to have a government teacher here today, Dr. Shelton. He didn't come, because I did the follow. Have you heard of AI governance? Yeah. Research that. Friends, the political system of the world is somewhat chaotic. I think you can understand that. And then he said, why don't we just have the AI systems do it? Go ahead and ask an AI system that. You will start loving every single politician in the world when you see what AI has in store. They have a universal income. This is great. I'm hoping it's $200,000 for every family and having a wonderful house and good food and good things. It's about $30,000. You don't gonna use anything. AI says, you don't need it. We're going to take the power. Very, very interesting. I don't want to get draconian at all, but it's an interesting path to see how it would govern. Is AI using governance right now? Absolutely. Everything being seen today, every optic is gone through an AI system. So do we want to, my friends, just be users of it or actually be the builder's owner and the long-term investment? Much more than that. That's what it's going to lead to in the future. I hope, my friends, that was interesting to you. Did everyone get a strategy? It's not an investment opportunity, but a strategy here. Because I built these for you. I wish you great luck. I hope that helps. It's very easy with the systems we have to start building that. Also, we just looked at stocks. There are ETFs that you can build into that really take out a lot of the risk. ETF is an exchange traded fund, just like a mutual fund. And ask your AI system. This is where you use AI as your agent right now. Chat, give me 10 great emerging technology infrastructure build out ETFs, and it will put out there. And that's of the booklet that I have given you, most of that is gone through an AI system to look and repeat it. So it is telling you, it's putting out what the best information we can possibly have. So thank you for coming out today. If there's a question I can answer, I will try. If not, I will defer to my brother, Freddie Sandifer, in the background there.
Raise your hand if you have a question. We'll bring the mic by.
do something, my friends. Even if it's a mistake, do it. Then do something else. But get in the game. Get in the game. Don't watch it as a user for the next 20 years and say, man, I kind of should have jumped in back and I could have. I wish you great success. Thank you for coming out. Make sure now, do you have all right, we have the controls right here. Way to go, Samuel. That is a QR code. If you could scan that. I did pass around a sign-in sheet, but that's a secondary one. That makes sure that, again, a lot attended. We can keep these things going. If nobody attends, we can't keep the lectures going. But for myself, Professor Sandifer, I know you've had maybe Professor Kaluuya, some other professors there. We want to give you those extra bonus points.